This video is for information and news purposes only and is not medical advice. These prescription medications carry significant risks. Never start or stop a medication without consulting a licensed healthcare professional who knows your medical history.
Imagine a world where the single remaining barrier to widespread use of a blockbuster weight loss medication is not cost or supply, but a single needle. That image helps explain how dramatically the landscape has changed. For years, injectable formulations dominated headlines and clinical practice because they delivered predictable systemic exposure.
Now the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has cleared new oral semaglutide formulations, pills bearing the Ozempic name, and a high-dose oral Wegovy, and the choice is no longer simply injectable only. You now have a menu: daily pills, weekly injections, and even higher-dose weekly shots. This script explains what changed, why the pills look numerically different from the injections, how the drugs behave in the body, what the trials show, and the trade-offs to consider when offered a choice.
Begin with the background. Semaglutide is a peptide that mimics the gut hormone GLP-1. When it binds receptors in the brain and other organs, it reduces appetite, slows gastric emptying, and lowers blood glucose.
An earlier oral product, Rybelsus, introduced the concept of a semaglutide pill, but the recent approvals represent a decisive expansion. Novo Nordisk has consolidated brand names so that Ozempic now appears as both a once-weekly injectable and as a range of pills, while Wegovy is available in a high-dose oral form as well.
A frequent question is, why do the pill doses appear enormous compared with the shot? The explanation is bioavailability. The therapeutic story began with injectables, marketed under brand names such as Ozempic for diabetes and Wegovy for weight management. Injected semaglutide bypasses the digestive tract. Essentially, the entire injected dose becomes available systemically. Oral semaglutide, by contrast, faces stomach acid, digestive enzymes, and epithelial barriers. The mathematics are stark. Typically, less than 1% of an oral dose reaches systemic circulation. To match plasma exposure, the printed milligram amount on a pill must be many times higher. That is why an oral Wegovy tablet may carry 25 milligrams or 50 milligrams, while the injectable ceiling has been 2.4 milligrams for standard Wegovy and 1.0 to 2.4 milligrams for Ozempic and diabetes. Those pill numbers are not a measure of greater potency. They compensate for digestive loss. Regulatory filings and randomized controlled trials provide the evidence behind these approvals. Two trials central to the approval process were OASIS-1 and OASIS-4. Each lasted roughly 68 weeks and compared daily oral semaglutide against placebo with standard behavioral support. The headline result: adults taking the 50 milligram daily oral Wegovy lost on average about 15.1% of baseline body weight over 68 weeks. For perspective, the original Wegovy injection trials reported average weight loss near 14.9% at similar time points. Statistically and clinically, those numbers are essentially equivalent. Regulators also reviewed cardiovascular outcome data and concluded that oral semaglutide provides benefit in reducing the risk of major adverse cardiovascular events, mirroring findings from injectable GLP-1 trials. That is notable. Whether daily pill or weekly shot, there is evidence for cardiovascular risk reduction within this class. Pharmacology and trial protocols introduce practical subtleties that determine real-world effectiveness. Oral semaglutide requires a strict dosing ritual to maximize absorption. The golden rule enforced in the studies is precise and non-negotiable. Take the pill first thing in the morning. Be on an empty stomach, no food or drink beforehand. Use no more than 4 ounces, about 120 milliliters, of plain water to swallow the pill. Wait a full 30 minutes after taking the pill before consuming any other food, drink, or medication. These elements matter because coffee, other pills, or a larger volume of water dilute or alter gastric conditions and reduce absorption. Deviations are not minor inconveniences. They materially reduce the amount of drug that reaches your bloodstream. In practice, that means the pill is unforgiving of user error. Pour a large glass of water, or take the tablet and then have coffee 10 minutes later. and the result can be absorption so low that the treatment becomes ineffective, an expensive habit with little benefit. Side effects mirror those seen with injectable semaglutide.
The most common adverse events are gastrointestinal. Nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea account for the majority of tolerability issues. Because the oral dose must be larger to overcome gastrointestinal degradation, some participants experienced an initial surge of gastrointestinal symptoms.
In the trials, early nausea was frequent, though often transient and often manageable with dose titration. Serious but rare risks, pancreatitis, gallbladder disease, acute kidney injury from volume depletion, and the theoretical risk of C-cell thyroid tumors remain part of the safety profile and informed regulatory review.
Clinicians and patients must weigh these risks against the benefit of meaningful, sustained weight loss and documented cardiovascular risk reduction. A separate development in March 2026 added an important dimension, Wegovy HD, a high-dose injectable. The FDA fast-tracked a 7.2 milligram weekly injection for patients who have plateaued on standard doses. In the step-up trials that evaluated higher injectable doses, participants reached average weight loss approaching 21%, notably higher than standard 2.4 milligram injections. The mechanism is straightforward. Higher systemic exposure produces a stronger anorectic and metabolic effect. The implications are significant. Choice no longer sits only between a pill and a shot. It spans a spectrum from daily oral therapy to standard weekly injection to a higher dose weekly injection designed to maximize weight loss. How should one think about trade-offs? Consider 4 domains: convenience and lifestyle, adherence and reliability, efficacy and escalation, and side effect profile.
Convenience and lifestyle. The pill appeals to travelers, those who cannot refrigerate injectables, or individuals with needle aversion. Yet convenience is conditional.
The required morning fasting window imposes a daily ritual that may conflict with work schedules, caregiving duties, or irregular sleep. If you value flexible mornings or have an unpredictable routine, the daily ritual can be burdensome. Adherence and reliability. A weekly injection is forgiving. Miss a dose and you can often recover without losing efficacy. The pill demands daily discipline.
The impact of missed or improperly administered doses is more severe for the oral route because absorption is effectively binary. The ritual either preserves intended exposure or it does not.
Efficacy and escalation. If the primary aim is maximum weight reduction and you are willing to tolerate higher systemic exposure, the HD injectable produced the strongest trial-proven results to date.
The oral 50 milligram option matched standard injectable results in trials, but it has not demonstrated the magnitude achieved by the 7.2 milligram injections. If achieving the highest percentage of weight loss is the goal, the high-dose shot delivered the largest average reductions in trials.
Side effect profile. Both routes show similar typical adverse events, but the oral formulation's larger nominal dose can mean more early gastrointestinal discomfort for some individuals. Tolerability varies, and clinicians typically manage side effects with gradual dose escalation, supportive measures, and behavioral counseling. Cost and access also shape real-world choice. Pricing, insurance coverage, and supply dynamics will affect which options are viable. The pill may broaden access in some settings, but requires consistent pharmacy supply and daily copayments. The injection may be covered differently and could involve prior authorization or specialty pharmacy requirements. Real-world availability and out-of-pocket costs will often determine the final decision as much as clinical considerations. If a clinician offers both options, practical questions help guide selection. Ask yourself, how likely are you to follow a strict 30-minute morning fast every day? Do you travel across time zones frequently? Do you have a history of poor adherence to daily medications? Are you seeking the largest possible weight loss with appetite suppression? What are your gastrointestinal sensitivities? Your answers, in collaboration with your clinician, should guide selection. The regulatory environment has moved us from scarcity to choice. The weight loss shot era is not ended, it has been expanded. The pill reframes convenience by eliminating needles and refrigeration at the cost of a daily ritual. The high-dose injection reframes potency by delivering stronger systemic exposure for patients willing to accept increased intensity and monitoring.
To conclude, the decision is a trade-off between a weekly, more forgiving injection with the possibility of a high-dose maximized outcome and a daily pill that reproduces standard injection results only if you commit to a disciplined morning regimen. Consider lifestyle fit, adherence likelihood, side effect tolerance, cost, and ultimate goals when discussing options with your clinician. Now, a direct question to you. If a physician presented a weekly injection you could largely set and forget, or a daily pill that demands an exact 30-minute morning fasting ritual but avoids needles, which would you choose and why?
Share your reasons below. Your practical experience may help others facing the same decision.